Oh, where have the environmentalists gone? That's what I asked last week. Couldn't understand it. Climate change, people. End of the world. Sky's falling. That's been their philosophy for years. But apparently, it depends on who we're attacking when it comes up to this type of subject. Hi, everybody. I'm David Solomon flying solo today. Stuart is out at a conference, and I'm wishing him the best luck. My good friend, take it easy, enjoy, and kick some butt. Yes, I'm flying solo on the Rant Network, and here on the Rant Network, what we do is all this unedited, uncensored, unfiltered, and certainly unapologetic rants about modern life, politics, society, and so much more. We dive into all the topics that really, you just don't really hear all the time on the radio, on TV, in the newspaper, online. Because your feeds and what you get generally match what liberal media wants you to hear and wants you to see, rather than stuff like today that should you get you to go, So sit back, folks, because today I'm going to take a piece out of some climate change people. So Greta Thunberg decided to, if you remember, she was that teenager at one point who was like that climate change, screaming, yelling, protesting. The world's coming to an end. We have to do something about it. And now she's a kafir-laden individual who wants to see the end of Israel, because that's what climate change people are all about. It's not about making the world better. It's about their lefty, loony policies. Because if they really cared about the environment, where were they last Wednesday? Last week, fires were set on purpose, arsonists in Israel, outside of Jerusalem. Jerusalem was burning. The forests, acres and acres of land, including Canada, the Canada forest that was donated for generations by Canadians to put trees in Israel. Trees, people. Environment. Imagine burning. If you recall, over the last few years, we've had quite a few forest fires in North America. California had a devastating one last year. North America, like from Canada into the United States, had a major one. Canada had a big one. All the smoke went into the US, and the climate people went nuts. You see what we mean? When we don't take care of the world, we'll have forest fires and we'll ruin the forests and we'll ruin the environment. And we must protect the environment and we must protect our forests. Where were you last Wednesday when Palestinian terrorists lit trees up? And yes, folks, we have the video. Don't give me this innocent business still proven guilty. There are videos of them lighting up the trees. And it's fascinating because when there is when there is a bad occasion like an earthquake, regardless of where it is in the world, Israel sends a squad to those countries to help out. Even Turkey, who hates Israel, even some South American countries who hate Israel. Israel has this incredible rescue team that goes in because they do all this crisis management. They're one of the best in the world, and a lot of countries could learn from the way Israel does it. But in this occasion, when we needed water bombers, where was the world to send them over? Where was the left to scream at governments, go save the forests in Israel? See, this is the problem. It isn't about climate change. It's about agenda control. It's about wanting to control the messaging. And it's fascinating because, again, what happens over the weekend? Where do we focus on? Are we going to focus on that? Oh, no. We're going to talk about Palestinian aid that Israel's blockading. Again, a falsehood. Israel's not blockading humanitarian aid. That is Hamas that has blocked humanitarian aid. Israel continues to retaliate because they don't want the release of the hostages. Not true. Qatar convinced the Hamas-led negotiating team to not accept a U.S. and Israeli plan. On and on and on again, the world needs to focus on Israel. Israel's the wrong country. Israel's a bad country. Israel's an apartheid state. Israel, is racist. Yada da 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 da. But I'll say it again. If you could name me in one country that comes out with more technology for climate change, I think you'd be hard pressed. The state of Israel was founded refounded, let's call it, back in 1948. We just celebrated last week her 77th rebirth. That's right, rebirth. Don't give me another word. It's a rebirth. Okay? Other colonizers have been there. The Jewish state was reborn. And one of the things that had happened pre 1948 was this move to forest Israel, that territory. Now, we call it Israel today, but in 1903, 1905, it was swampland everywhere. And this organization called Jewish National Fund came around, got money to clean out the swamps and start planting trees. It wasn't about a country yet. It was about creating a beauty, an environment. Now, call it what you will. This was the first real green initiative. And not one word of congratulations. No. JNF today lost its status in Canada, for example, its tax status, because being claimed to support is the Israeli military, and a nonprofit cannot do that. It's in courts. It's being fought. But again, it wasn't about let's go help an organization that has planted trees, that has worked towards water generation in dry areas. We're talking a desert area. The drip method that in farming came out from Israel. They're the ones who invented it because there's no way to grow in a desert, in dry area. They figured it out. They brought that technology to Africa, South America, who all turned their backs on Israel and said, "To hell with you." Is it climate change or anti-Semitism? That's what we're dealing with, people. The focus on the BBC on Sunday, after Israel was hit with a rocket right outside of Ben Gurion Airport, and of course, immediately the airlines canceled. Oh, no, we can't fly. What if we can't take the challenge? Da 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 da. Meanwhile, where are you flying to? What other war zones are you flying into, people? But let's not go there. BBC, I happened to catch on the weekend. All they wanted to focus on wasn't that the Houthis fired a rocket into Israel and it landed in Tel Aviv. It was those poor Palestinians who don't have water and food. That Israel has to provide it, even though supposedly they've elected Hamas as their government. So shouldn't their government provide it? Israel has to provide it. The world has gone nuts. And the left, those climate change lovers, just want to bash Israel. They're not here to save the world. They're totally discredited. And there's the litmus test. Because if they did care, they wouldn't be doing stuff like that. See, people like AOC, who flies on private planes but talks about climate change, does that make any sense to you or me? Nope. The worst polluters are private planes. But it's okay. It's AOC. When you look at what other statements come out of their mouths, you ask yourself, who are these people? Now, before you go and telling me you're sounding like one of those crazy lunatics who is all about, oh, there's no such thing as climate change. No, I didn't say that. And I'm a believer that we need to protect our environment. We are polluters, but let's be real. The pollution is coming from places like India, China, Russia, and Brazil, the majority of it. It's a big chunk of it. And until they stop, we're going to have a really hard time to do much of anything. We recycle. Okay. Don't get me started on recycling. What I'm saying, though, is that when it comes up to what the policies on the left are for green initiatives, for climate change, and so on, preserving the forests is on their bucket list. It's on their must preserve list. So how is it when an arsonist, we give grief to a camper, someone who was on a campground, who left embers or a cigarette or something, we go ballistic on that one individual. Look what you did. Look at the damage you caused. Look at this. We talk about
the fact that the ground's too dry, and we go after the fire department and we freak out on people because we love to freak out now, apparently. But here, crickets. Left wing governments refusing to send bombers to help Israel with a fire. Same people Israel helped on earthquakes, fallen buildings, disasters. Nothing. Zero. 5 countries offered. Congratulations. Thank you. But where are the rest of you with your water bombers? Surprised? No. Because the reality has come out today. Ladies and gentlemen, as I said, it's not about climate change. It's not about green initiatives. It's about destroying the only Jewish state. It's about eliminating and eradicating the only Jewish state. Last Thursday, Jews and non-Jews around the world celebrated her 77th birthday. I was one of them. I was one of them here in Montreal, of the many thousands of people in my city who proudly went out with blue and white flags, with Canadian flags, with Quebec flags, proud to be Canadian, proud to live in Canada, but also proud to be connected with the Jewish state. And what do you, of course, do you have across the street? Palestinian protesters spewing hateful messages of destruction, yelling at 77 years of genocide. Now that's 77 years of genocide. I mean, let's make any statement. Their face masked. You barely see their eyes. They found this new opportunity to get their voice heard. And what does the media do? They called us protesters. At no point did any one of us protest. We were calling for peace. We're protesters. Media spin. Let's twist the angle. When a handful of young Jewish participants confronted the handful of Palestinian participants on the other side, and there was an exchange for about 20, 30 minutes, yelling, screaming, the usual thing, that was more important than our attempts at peace. And they tried to make our community look bad. Thousands of people came to that march, which included people from the Filipino community, Iranian community. How about even some members from the German community, Italian community, other communities? They came out to support Israel because they said there's a beacon of light. It's a democracy in the Middle East. The hate and the double standards do not make sense. She should stand and live and thrive. And the messages were sent out time and time again by a variety of different people. But all the time it was about peace. No one burnt a flag. No one called for the death or destruction of anybody. But on the other side, I watched one person tie an Israeli flag to their feet and walked and traipsed on it. Bravo. That's what they do. And that's who the green people like to associate themselves with. People who call for destruction, devastation, elimination, eradication. So the next time you see some of those folks screaming and yelling, climate change is a number one priority, we should just do that. And the notion that Elizabeth May might be in Mark Carney's government because she's the head of the Green Party, with her, I would actually ask her, are you really about green or are you really about making green? Because it ain't about making the world a better place, unless that includes Hitler's final solution. Because that's what seemingly is what the message is. So the next time you see one of those environmentalists freaking out on you, ask them, where were you on April 30th? Where were you on May 1st when Israel was burning because some terrorists decided to, encouraged by Hamas, to burn the forests in Israel? If they can't answer you with a straight face, you know what they really stand for. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me today on this episode of the Rant Network. Stuart will be back eventually this week. We hope you found this one somewhat engaging and insightful. Your support means the world to us. We really appreciate those clicks, likes, you name it. Keep it up, folks. We'll be back here on Wednesday.